14 minutes. Let's get ourselves into the things we are here for. And as always, for those of you that are going to be watching this on YouTube, if you enjoy yourselves during this time and enjoy my Reddit streaming, as well as the cookered thing will be afterwards, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment things you want to see down below. Things that I missed, things you enjoy, all that stuff. Help a brother out so he can continue to give you this beautiful and wonderful commentary and gameplay. So, hopping right on in. Would I be the a-hole if I refused to babysit my brother's baby just because he named it after his ex? Well, let's find out the context. Alright, so I know this sounds petty as hell, but hear me out. My brother, 30 and a male, and his girl just had a baby. Cute kid, whatever. But they named her Emily, which wouldn't be a big deal, except Emily's the name of his ex, and that he was low-key obsessed with for years. I'm talking, he almost left his current girlfriend for her when they reconnected a couple years ago. It was a whole thing. Now he's acting like it's just a pretty name, and I'm being weird for bringing it up. His girlfriend either doesn't know or just doesn't care. I honestly don't even know. Anyway, they hit me up asking if I can help babysit a few times a week since I work from home. I told them nah. I'm not trying to get involved in their messy situation, and honestly, the name alone makes me feel weird. Now he's throwing a fit in our family group chat saying I'm punishing the baby over something that's not her fault. My mom's on his side telling me just let it go. So, would I be the a-hole for keeping my distance, or am I being too much about this whole thing? Alright, kid. So a very nuanced situation going on here. Didn't say how old you were necessarily, so I can't tell how mature you're supposed to be at this age. Doesn't matter. To be fair, you have mentioned that you work from home. You have mentioned that they want you to babysit a few times a week. Now that's probably going to be enough to affect your productivity. You're working from home. Having a kid to look after during those same times, as any parent knows, will be difficult. And you're essentially being asked to be a parent for those few times a week. Now, if you want kids anytime in your future, it might be a worthwhile endeavor to try at least a couple of times just so you can get that experience in and get a feeling for how it's going to be if you continue to work from home in the future. You might have something to do there, you know? Your kids in the future might appreciate you having that trial run, so you can definitely help them out. But at the same time, we don't want your brother to be the person to kind of tank your career, work, and expectations just because he needs some help. You have to talk to him about that for one of the aspects for sure. It's up to you whether or not you want to take that chance. Now let's talk about the major thing, which is the naming conventions and your issue with it. Now to be fair, I think it's super weird that your brother was still obsessed with this Emily person and almost left his current girlfriend. I don't know if they knew about it, and you said you don't know if she knew about it either or just doesn't care about it. But to be fair, it's not necessarily your relationship with her. If she doesn't seem to have as much as an issue with it and it's something that could have affected her more than anybody else, then perhaps we have to consider the fact that she might not care as much as you do about it. And that means that in some respect, you have to acknowledge their feelings about you might be feeling more weird about it than they are, and other people, such as your mother, being on his side might lend more credence to that fact, or that possibility. Now, as a whole, with the context I have here, I personally would agree with you that it's quite odd. It's a weird choice to name it right after the ex that you have had a history of being obsessed with, right? I don't think I would be able to really handle that as well if my brother did that. I would be like, are you sure you want to do that? And all my friends, all the people that I've hung out with, my nephews and nieces, they're not named after any of the exes that my brother said, and very intentionally so, because Again, when you're talking in conversation, things like that come up, like the names you're gonna have for your kids, and they're like, no, I'm never naming them that. The names of your exes come up, and they're like, never again. Don't even want to hear that name. People move on, People move on. People change. They have different opinions, and especially in a world where it's more likely that you're gonna have friends and family that will want to distance themselves as much from the name and the person as possible after they break up with them. I think this is something that could probably extend into the naming conventions of your family. And since names are one thing that's usually considered by people for a while they're having their kids, it means that the mother and your brother had to have considered this name for hopefully a while, right? And they came to either grips with that, or there's a possibility that, and I don't know how to put this exactly, but there's a possibility that it's being transformed, not sublimated, that's not the word, but your brother could be transferring the love he had for Emily, his ex, into now Emily, his daughter, A name of the girl that he used to be obsessed with. Now he'd want to protect at all costs, and now it relates to his daughter. Nothing to do with that girl. If she hasn't still come around at this point and still doesn't come around in the future, it could be argued away or explained away in the fact that now he wants to have a name that meant so much to him be the name of his daughter, and then that will give him more of a reason and more passion to make sure that she's safe, protected, and all the things that a father would do. Like hearing that name every day might just give him more inspiration somehow. That is the nicest way I can think to explain that, Hopefully there's some type of truth in that. I'm not too sure there would be. But like I said at the beginning of this tirade, if it were me, I would be in your position as well, thinking it's very odd to be done. I'm just trying to think on both sides and see if there's any way I can find to explain it away that he could try. But ultimately, I think it would be quite the odd situation to be in, and I would be very confused and very worried a little bit, Take the sister aside if you must, ask her if she knew about it, ask her if she approved, but since it's been named at this point, you kind of have to assume she did, or at least knows a little bit about it. If she doesn't know now, and you feel like you must tell her, I would, for the sake of family, ask your brother if it's something that he thinks she would need to know. Just so you're not burning him immediately when you talk to her. If he's reasonable, he'll probably say, yeah, sure, why not? Let her know if she didn't know already. But again, in this situation, I doubt that she didn't know, or at least had no idea. It is a pretty name. To be fair, it is a pretty name, all things considered. But the context that it brings to your mind might be the context it brings to his mind, and you don't know that for sure. If you haven't talked to him about it, and he's already going to the family group chat and saying you're punishing the baby over something that's not her fault, he's technically right. It's not her fault that he named her that way, but it is his fault if he named her that way with a certain intention. You have to make sure that you find out what that intention is. It's not for us to say. We can't say whether or not you would be the a-hole. We would say that in your subjective situation, it's definitely something you want to consider very intently. Next moves you make are going to matter a lot in the life of that new Emily and in the life of you and your brother and your relationship. So, might not be an a-hole for not watching her, especially since it might affect your ability to work from home effectively. If she's there a few times a week, and might be a lot to deal with at one time, because that's what kids are, a lot to deal with, especially when you're working from home. But all things considered, it's still your family, still your brother's child, and if you care for him and care for her, it might be worth taking a risk to see if you can do that, especially if you want to have kids yourself and might end up in the same situation. Consider what you'd want him to do for you if you were in his situation. Though, of course, without the context of the name thing. Alright, let's see what the comments thought about this, because I really want to wonder, because I'm kind of on the fence about this. I really don't know which way to go either way on this one. And chat, you're free to weigh in as well. what you think would happen here, and if he'd be considered the a-hole, if it's something that you would probably distance yourself from him for doing. I can't say that I would, but we'll find out what the comments think. You should not be babysitting when you are working from home, pure and simple. Your work comes before their kid. Doesn't matter if you don't like the kid's name, it's the time when you are being paid by your employer to work, and you risk losing your job if you're babysitting when you should be working. Tell your family to get a grip, and they can take the baby to work with them and see how their employer likes it. Harsh? But he's got a point. I did bring this up before. You are working from home, so you have to consider that as well. I don't give a shite why they named the kids. Although the story is very creepy. Unless your work from home gig is babysitting other kids, don't take it on. It will lead to long-term entitlement that you'll never escape. And yeah, they should be paying you, of course. People who have kids with no childcare plans suck. Your mom wants you to step up. After you, Mom. That's a good point. You do have family, and you do have Mom who is on his side about taking care of the kid. What is she up to? What is she doing? It seems like OP hasn't responded to this, so we can't tell any new information from this. But let's see what else. Let's find out what the next people said. People are all on his side, co-signing it for the fact that the mom needs to be involved in the situation and potentially taking care of the kid herself. You work from home. Okay, so everybody's really harping on that work from home aspect here. I kind of made it a minor thing. I didn't think it would be that crazy, but it is in fact something to consider. Your work is very important. Your ability to keep your roof over your head and your money in your pocket can only help, especially for you and your brother. If you need anything and he needs anything in the future, you'll be able to help him out because you've been working and you've been effective. You've been getting paid. So let's see if that works out this way. Especially like this person here, I agree. Most people who work from home work really hard, long hours. I, for one, even if I'm working in office, I have a problem with taking any breaks. So with the externship I had before, that was one of the things I had to keep my timesheet on. You know, my time log is any breaks and lunches that I took for the day. And unfortunately, I literally had to like schedule out time, and sometimes I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I didn't take those breaks, but I scheduled out the time to say I did. When I'm working, I feel like I'm working. I'm gonna keep doing it, and nothing's gonna stop me at that point. But I'm one of those people. If I was working from home, I'd be on there just relentlessly, should I say. Even this, streaming and the content creation process, whether not safe for work or safe for work, becomes something that you have to do day in, day out, if you really want to keep things up to date. And now I'm not as editing or efficient in editing and as interesting as some other people so far, because I'm just starting out, really, but it still takes a while, figure out what you want to do, recording some videos, editing them, the uploading process, the rendering, everything else takes a while, and you have to pay attention to these things in case something goes wrong. Now I can imagine, since it's just content creation, but what if it's like serious business records you have to review, you have to be ready for, put spreadsheets together, documents, reviews, all these types of things. They take time and they take intense care and specific focus to figure out. So if you have a little kid running around as well, that's definitely going to detract from your ability to work. So it's a really big deal taking on this kid. There should be other people to consider, hopefully, like the mother, to see if they're up to the task of taking care of the kid, so you don't have to worry about it quite as much. Let's see what else people have said about it. Work from home, then you can't babysit. Not the a-hole for not babysitting, but you are for making a big thing over the name. Considering. Not refusing a babysit, you don't have to. However, you're creating drama where none exists. Okay. So the consensus, it seems so far, is that the naming convention issue is not something that the OP should be considering. Now, it's a big part of why he doesn't want to babysit personally, but I think that they have a point in saying that the babysitting issue can be left to the aspect of working from home alone, and then separately you could have the issue with the naming conventions for the kid. And you don't have to throw on both of them or even mix the two. But if you want to get away with like not babysitting, the idea of working from home and how that's going to affect you is probably the best way to go about it, you know? So not the a-hole for not wanting to babysit the kid. However, the naming conventions, it's not your decision what you name your kid, even if it's a weird situation. I'd say it's weird. I agree, it's weird. But given the benefit of the doubt, I doubt that there's a world where the mother who would have been affected by this hasn't already thought about or considered the name before naming their kid that. So maybe it's a way to take back their own power on it, and the feelings they have towards that person, now it's towards their daughter, and will again transition in some type of way to the child. And that's my verdict. Chet, you feel free to weigh in. Let me know. Do you think that he would be an a-hole for not checking out this kid and not babysitting them while he's working from home, and that it's not his duty or his duty to consider the name of the kid being the ex's as something to consider and bring up? Well, you let me know. Meanwhile, I'm going to head on over to the next one. This one's going to be a text one, so I'm going to read this out. Let's think of some voices to use for it. Let's hit some that's a lot of context. Regardless, this is a newer one, so people haven't commented on it yet. We'll get to talk about it fresh off the presses. Let's do this. I, 19 female, and my friend, 20 female, have been friends since we were 12. Hold on. It's definitely not the right voice, but I gotta think of a way to make it even better. Hold on. We were close all throughout our... No? I'm just gonna stick with the little Southern Belle type thing. We were close all throughout high school and middle school. Though she basically stopped talking and hanging out with me our senior year of high school. After we graduated and went to college, she started talking to me again, and we FaceTimed almost every day for a while we were both at different schools. Every time we went home for breaks, she'd beg me to come over and see her at work. She works at a fast food place. But whenever I went, she would act like she was mad at me or didn't want to talk to me. So I stopped going. But whenever we hung out in private, when we were both free, she acted fine. Turns out, she told me she stopped talking to me and the rest of our friend group, and it was because she didn't like two of our friends. So she stopped talking to all of us all together instead of talking about it with me. Fast forward to now, I'm out of college, and I'm out of college for the summer, and we've been hanging out a lot the past few days. A couple nights ago, she and I hung out in my car, and she wanted to prank call people on her phone. So I agreed, and we called the girl scribbled out in orange. I don't like orange, so I told her I'd rather not talk to her, but Kay already pressed the call and shoved the phone in my face. I do the prank call, and she was prompting me through it. Then we call another girl, the girl scribbled out in red. All is fine, whatever. Then the next day, we go see fireworks together. She brings along the girl scribbled in red, and we all hang out together. But she tells me to lie to Red and say that I took her phone while she was in the bathroom. Whatever, I don't care. I lied for her, and I said I did it on my own. Red thought it was funny, 'cause it was. And we went along with our day. Then today, I got a sent a text from my friend whose friend is the orange girl. She sent me the picture of my friend Kay and the orange girl's conversation, asking if I knew who prank called her. The text from Kay basically said she didn't care for me, and she's very unhappy with me. I told my friend that I was the one who pranked called orange and explained everything that happened. I confronted Kay, and all she could say was that it was a joke and that she's sorry. I don't know what to do here. She keeps saying she's sorry and that she shouldn't have said that. I'm so mad at her, and I can't tell if I'm overreacting. She's lied to me so many times in the past about things, but every time she needed someone to vent to, or just call in the middle of the night in college, I was there. I don't know if I explained this well or not. I'm so upset, I can't even see straight. She was one of my closest friends my entire childhood, and still is. She was there for me when I lost my best friend last year, and now she's saying this about me. Am I the a-hole for overreacting?
How interesting. What an interesting setup. I think... Alright, so I assume these are
her reactions to her friend after the situations happened and the conversations they had together. So, am I the a-hole for being mad at my friend for a joke? So, let's find out what the texts are saying here. What the hell? And this is the screenshot, I assume, from the person who's friends with Orange and K. Hey. Sorry my friend called you. I was literally in the bathroom. I'm not that happy with her right now. Not gonna lie, got a little lost. Hey, listen, me too. I'm not gonna lie. If I could summarize, and it's hard to do so, of course, but I'll try. OP had a friend who she considered to be her best friend. We'll call her K. And K and her were making prank calls one day. And they were making prank calls to Orange and Red, right? So after they made those prank calls, they went out to go see some fireworks together. And then K brought along Red, and told our OP to lie to Red and say that she's the one that did the prank calls, and that it was her idea, and she did it while she was in the bathroom. And she did it, she cares. And then a friend of Orange said, hey, Kay's been saying she's not happy with you, and that you're the one that did the prank calls. What happened here? Do you know who prank called her? And then she, fessed up about the whole thing, gave her the ideas, and said what happened. So now she's mad at Kay because Kay's been kind of playing both sides here and saying that it was all her fault, really, that she's the one that had the idea, and that she took her phone. So let's find out. Let's clarify some more. Back to the voices. What? I don't care if you say I took your phone or whatever, but if you don't like me, don't ask to hang out with me. That's crappy. Really crappy. I can understand you lying to Red or whatever, but why lie to Orange? I don't get it. She wouldn't give a crap if I prank called her, so why say that you're not happy with me doing it when you told me to do it? We've known each other for years. If you're unhappy being my friend, then say so, because saying that just freaking sucks. I was joking with her. I wasn't being serious. I promise. That doesn't look like joking. I'm not unhappy with you. You're one of my closest friends. I was joking. I promise. I wouldn't ask to hang out if I didn't like you. I love you. You're one of my closest friends. Then why say that? Why say that? I don't get it. Explain how that is a joke. I was just joking when I said it. I'm sorry. Explain how that is a joke. I don't understand. I don't understand. Again, it's odd. I feel like they're young, okay? So that's my first thing I saw. It's a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old. They're both just there. But they've been friends for so many years. 8 years about in this situation. Consider one of her best friends, one of her closest ones. So any type of betrayal, as you could consider this to be, I can see why that would be an issue for her for sure. And she's wondering, is she in the wrong for bringing this up with Kay and being mad at her for it? Now, I don't think at all that it would be a bad thing to be mad about this type of situation. Now, whether it's an appropriate reaction, I'm not sure I can say. I mean, maybe she's overreacting. My judginess would say, yeah, in the grand scheme of things, especially with your relationship and potentially the fact that you're going off to college and all that stuff, this probably shouldn't matter to you anymore. You're just going to go off and make new friends anyway, so why worry? But as somebody who's had lifelong friends, and I can see what happens when you are harmed by them, emotionally or mentally, however it is. It matters to you, right? And your reaction is probably pretty calm for what it could be in that situation. So I don't think you're an a-hole for this. That's my determination, at least. I don't think you're an a-hole for this at all. I think you might be overreacting, but you're not an a-hole. It's completely valid to be mad that somebody's put all the blame for something on you, even though it was their idea, and said that they had nothing to do with it, that it happened while they were out of the room, and that it was all you. especially when you explained it to somebody else, the actual truth of what happened. She might not believe you, but you did your job to explain it, and you tried your best to help out and to clarify things in the way that you can. So you did all you could, and you're not an a-hole for it. I hope that she gets the hint, and she gets to come back and talk to you about this thing, because it matters, especially to you. I would hate to see that a relationship gets taken out just because of this. Especially if you want to continue being her friend for the future, and that's completely a determination up to you. There's no one else that can say that for you. Even if you were being an a-hole here, and if she was being an a-hole, it doesn't matter. If you want to be her friends, there's still a way to come back from this, and the best way to do that is to talk to her directly. And that's what you should do. When you get a little older, you might understand that more often, or right off the bat, whatever else. But as it stands now, that's my advice to you if you were reading this OP, or hearing this at that. So, could be fair anything to say that. If I missed anything, feel free to let me know. There's a possibility that I can also just have you hop in the chat to say some of these things out loud. Could also help out that way. But if not, I might have you hop in a Discord chat anyway for a future game that we're going to be playing. I want to show you a game called Death Trash, and we could play that together. But that's a separate thing altogether. That's a separate from what I'm doing right now. This song's a vibe. In fact, give me a second. I'm gonna do that real quick. Again, Moon Hunters is a game that is now currently for $1.50. $1.49, I believe it is. So feel free to get that. I would if I were you, because I'm gonna get it myself. I'm also gonna get a game called Safe House Diaries 2, and that's something that I also want to play on stream for you guys. It's another kind of chiller thing for us to do on days like this, but it's also somewhat story based on us making our own stories with the characters and survivors we have there. So it will be fun for us to exist on together. First, I'm gonna record myself playing it for about 30 minutes or 35 or so, and then I'm gonna upload that to my YouTube channel so we can see that. And then we will play it on stream. So that'll probably be something we consider for our Sunday stream, if anything else. As it stands now, we're doing great. Death Trash is downloaded. Moon Hunters is downloaded. We're doing wonderfully. And I can't wait to play those games with you guys. Aside from that, I need to get back into playing Call of Duty Warzone, because I have some friends that I can definitely hop onto it with, and if we get any good at the game, then I can add that to the rotation of things for us to play, and that's something we'll consider as well. Now let's move on to the next thing and see if they're the a-hole for something else. There were no comments to really go through on that one because it's that fresh and nobody had said anything to it so far. So if there's nothing to say inside the comments and inside of our chat, then we'll move on to the next one. Oh, it looks like you had something to say, but I'm gonna get ready to read the topic of the next one at least, and then I'll go back to your chat. Am I the a-hole for kicking my roommate's friends out after catching one trying to sneak into my room at 3 a.m.? From the context of the text of the topic alone, I would say no, but I'm looking forward to reading that. So let me head back and head into the chat because someone said something. There's nothing wrong with calling out behaviors you don't align with from your friends. I definitely agree with that. First thought was about how young they must be because of the nature of this one. It's true, it's true. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I have to sit and give this song some, much needed respect. I'm gonna be quiet for a little bit just so we can give Iroh's son some respect. Little leaves from the vine. Alright, Quip, I'll see you. I'll be here for you afterwards. I'll be here for at least, let's say an hour more. I'll probably hop into another game like Cookered just for some chill, relaxing time as we sit here and just chat about life. Falling so slow, like tiny little rocks, drifting in the cold. Wave. He's at a different part of the song than I am. Brave soldier boy comes marching home. Oh, okay, lurk away, enjoy that. Anyway, on to the next one. Iro, we love you. Falling so slow, like tiny little ones. It's little whatever's drifting in the cold. Soldier boy comes marching home. Anyway, our next topic. Man, I'm gonna need a break for that one. I'm gonna need a break from that one. I'm gonna stop the music for a little bit because it got so sad. Anyway, am I the hoe for kicking my roommate's friends out after catching one trying to sneak into my room at 3 a.m.? So, I'm 24, a female, and live with my roommate Jenna. Hopefully that's not the real name. She's always having people over, and I put up with it, even when they leave messes or stay late. Last weekend, I woke up at 3 a.m. to noises outside my bedroom door. I caught one of Jenna's friends trying to sneak inside. He said he was looking for the bathroom. Okay, yeah, alright, okay. That's classic college situations. Ah ha 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 ha. But they're 24, so I assume this is actually just like an apartment or something. This is crazy. Crazy work. Anyway. But the bathroom is at the other end of the hallway, so that was clearly a lie. Exactly. I told Jenna I'm done with her friends coming over until this is sorted. She's furious and says I'm ruining her social life and being paranoid. Jenna sounds like a teenager right now. I feel like I have every right to protect my space. Am I the a-hole for kicking her friends out? Easy answer. Easy determination. No, not the a-hole determination. No more to talk about. I don't think there's really a need to explain further than the fact that this is your house as well. This is your place. Jenna's your roommate, and you guys have boundaries you need to set and things you need to do to have a healthy relationship and to have things still functioning in your own apartment slash house slash whatever this is. I'm sure there's more context to figure out what it is, but the fact alone that the bathroom is across the hallway, down the hallway, even, already lends credence to the fact that you're completely in the right for being confused and worried about your safety and your happiness. Because someone that would walk in at 3 a.m. to your place without announcing themselves and we're just trying to, walk on in, that is such a scare to have, especially at 3 a.m. when you're probably just getting up. If anybody, and I mean anybody, male, female, it does not matter, was just randomly jiggling your door at 3 a.m., one, you probably shouldn't call them at 3 a.m. You'll get cursed. No, but you don't want to knock on my door at 3 a.m. Gone wrong. Actually, you could say this was that guy trying to have a booty call at 3 a.m. Gone wrong. But that's scary. That's terrifying. Actually, that's serial killer activity right there. That's Friday the 13th situations right there. Just a knock on your door at 3 a.m. You knock, you open it, no one's out there. You step out, you get machete. That's not something you want to deal with. Don't do that. Don't let them do that to you. And it's not your fault for not wanting to get machete. That's completely reasonable. So my determination, not the a-hole. In fact, you would be foolish to let this happen and to continue happening without saying anything to her. And you have said something to her. So now let's see what she does. Jenna, if you're listening, get it together. Your roommate does not appreciate this. Be considerate. She lives here too. And if you want to continue living there in a peaceful situation, You gotta learn how to compromise. If that means you don't have people filling you at 3 a.m. in the morning, then I would just take that chance. You know, hoes before bros. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm kidding. Bros before hoes is more like it, but this is your female roommate. It doesn't matter. Girls, gals before bed pals. Should I say? Seriously, these people can come and go, but right now your roommate is the person that you have to live with. So that being said, that in itself should be reason enough for you to consider your relationship with her more highly. And if you have issues with them coming to your place, then you can consider talking to them about other reasons, like them going or you going to their place at 3 a.m. in the morning. And clearly, there's a reason they came to yours and not theirs. So maybe it's not somebody that really cares for you as much as you thought if they're not willing to open their door for you instead. Um, but that's just me. Don't want to stir up any pots that don't need to be stirred. Um, if the onions aren't boiling, you don't have to throw any garlic in. That's what they always say. It's not very spee of them. Anyway, let's find out what the chat said. It's super creepy and a major violation. I'd be freaked out too. Your roommate should be understanding, not mad at you. Not the a-hole. Tell her to check her. Yes, tell her to check her would be grouper friends at the door. Exactly. Who knows what could have been happening at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. in the morning, my guy. Who knows what could have been happening? Who knows who this guy was? Did she just open up the door, told the guy to come over, and she's gonna open up the door for him at 3 a.m. while your friend is sleeping, your roommate's sleeping, you don't even know what's going on. He could go into the room and the bathroom's down the hall and he says he's looking for the room, but he's looking for the bathroom. It's not gonna work that way. You don't wanna do that to him. Don't do that to your roommate. You're scaring the life out of her. You're knocking the piss out of her. She's sleeping. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? You're chalking. You're chalking, Jenna. You're chalking. Stop chalking, Jenna. Stop chalking. Anyway, that being said, I agree with these comments for sure. That's a serious line of safety, as I said, that's been crossed. And it looks like OP's heard the same thing, that she's done playing with people who aren't going to respect her safety. I agree with that. And I'm proud of you for coming out to conclusion with just one chat comment here. Now, let's hope that Jenna learned something from this as well. Not the a-hole. Moving on. Oh, this is an update? No. Alright, so we can't do that one without knowing what the first one was. They didn't give any link to their first one, so we're gonna have to move on from this potential one. And we're gonna go to our final Reddit things for the day, where we can look at them. This one will be the original post and then an update post afterwards. So we're gonna go through both of those before I make some determinations on it. This one's not it. It's the next one after it. Here it is. Here's the original one, and we can see he's got an update here that he posted 4 hours ago. But this is 2 months ago, original post. Am I the a-hole for not giving legal advice at a party to someone I just met? Now, this is something I could probably talk about. How interesting. Okay. Now let's read. Hi, everyone. This actually happened last night. I was at my brother's place for an... Hold on, I'm going to try... Yeah, I'm going to try kind of that Russian Scandinavian type voice. Hi, everyone. This actually happened last night. I was at my brother's place for an NFL draft party. I haven't seen my brother in a couple of weeks, and my brother and I live a couple hours from each other because I moved away, so I haven't seen a lot of his friends in years. I also have not met most of my brother's girlfriend's family and friends because she comes from a town a couple of hours away from where they currently live in the opposite direction from where I live. My brother and his GF have been together 2 years now and are getting engaged next month. At the party, I was talking with a group of people, and one guy, the husband of one of my brother's girlfriend's friends, asked me what I do for a living, and I said I'm an attorney. Enough of that voice. I can't keep that up. Anyway. He then started into a, so I'm having a problem with one of my neighbors. As he was launching into his story, I reached into my pocket and said I'd give him my card and told him to call me in the morning to discuss the issue. He got upset and said, why can't I just answer a couple of questions for him since we were both there? I said I was there to see my brother and to watch the draft and didn't want to discuss business right now. As other attorneys will tell you at social gatherings, this is a common thing. Once people find out you're an attorney, they'll try to corner you with a bunch of questions and you're basically back on the clock. Years ago, I decided to do the business card thing instead of answering questions so I could actually enjoy social gatherings. Besides, these things almost never turn into actual business. People just want to free legal advice. Never had any complaints about it before. The guy got upset, said something under his breath, and stormed off. The other people standing there all made a face as he stormed off, and we went right back into our conversation. That was it. Or so I thought. The rest of the night was fine, and it was never brought up again. We enjoyed the draft, and I enjoyed seeing my brother's knuckle-headed friends these years. A couple years later, etc. Alright. Now this is where it all goes south, I assume. I got a text from my brother this morning, and he said, I want to make this clear. I completely understand why you did what you did. He has seen it happen a bunch of times at events and heard me complain about it afterwards. However, his girlfriend is upset that I blew her husband's friend off. Who blew her friend's husband off, okay, and wants me to reach out to him, apologize, and answer his questions. My brother said he's on my side and said he told her such. But she made him send the text to me anyway. I believe my brother being on my side and understand he's trying to keep the peace in his relationship. I said, I'm not texting and apologizing or calling the guy, but he has my card and is welcome to text me and call me. I feel I did nothing wrong. Just because of my job doesn't mean I'm on the clock 24/7. My brother said, yeah, I knew you'd say that, but now I can at least tell my girlfriend I tried, and that was it with him. Again, I thought this was the end, but it's not. My girlfriend, well, actually, to be more specific, his girlfriend texted my mom and told her what happened. Now my mom is texting me and saying, I know it's annoying what this guy did, but can you call this guy so that your relationship with your brother's girlfriend isn't negatively affected, because she's obviously upset with you. My brother is getting engaged to her next month, and she's going to be family, and there's no need to have a rift when she's about to be family. I said, it's too late. The fact that she cried to my mom already created a rift on my end about her now. Again, I declined, and my mom said she understands, but just doesn't want any negative feelings with brother's girlfriend over this. I said no. He can call me and I'll answer any questions he has. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for how I handled this? Well, I'm gonna go along and, hot take? No, not the a-hole. I think it's a pretty safe determination there in that situation that you are not being the a-hole in the situation. Coming from a legal background myself, I will say, people have questions. They always will. And this is a specialized area. They can have all the questions. Now, let's say, would this change at all if it was a doctor, let's say, and they come up asking some weird question about the fungus they have on their toe or something? You probably be like, not in the middle of a party, dude. That's completely unnecessary. And now he's not back on the clock. Doctors have horrible hours already with nice 16-hour shifts and stuff like that. That's crazy. You can't just go to a party for your brother and now have to deal with work again immediately afterwards. Enjoy your time with your brother. Unfortunately, most people don't realize that lawyers often have the same type of hours and they get called outside of work all the time by clients that are paying them. So to take your time out after you're at a party for your brother and listen to some guy who you had just met, it's probably not something you want to do. They're gonna call you a lot more. They have a lot of questions, especially if it's something you can take on. Then that's more work that you just created for yourself. And you don't know anything about this person or their financial situation, whether they can pay you or whether they even have an actual issue, whether you have conflicts with their uh, individuals they're dealing with. Those are things you have to check as a legal professional, whether there's any conflict between you and the party they're talking about, or you and them, or anything else like that. You have to do real background checks and all that stuff. So, giving him your card was your best option in that situation. You definitely did a good job in dealing with the situation that you want to get yourself out of and finding a way to do that. You're not the a hole for not helping in that situation. Now, as it comes to, or as it pertains to the refusing to call him back first, you were pretty straightforward and honest with what your thoughts were on the fact that you couldn't help him right now. But if he had questions further, he can continue to call you and reach you on your business thing, because what you want to talk about would be business. It would be your legal business and finding things and getting a perhaps consultation from you for free or for anything else like that. And people have the right to refuse these offers. This is your work, your line of work, your job, things that you don't have to do all the time, and you need time to yourself and to your family. Now, your brother's girlfriend, who will be your sister in law potentially in the future, is being affected by this. That happens. It's her friend. You don't know the guy. Maybe you'll get to know the guy if he keeps coming to more events and you can talk to him. But until then, you have no obligation to put aside your own comfort for the comfort of a stranger. No one has that obligation unless they put that stranger in danger, and you did not do that. So, not the a-hole. Let's find out what the comments say about this, because I am wondering. I'm sure they're all going to agree at this point, but their reasonings for why are going to be what's interesting. Let's see, our top comment for the area. Let's see if anybody got a... Nope, nobody seems to have been given an award for this yet. So let's see what the top comment says. Top comment says... The fact that your brother's girlfriend feels like she has an agency in this situation is strange. Don't apologize. They're mad now. Later they won't be. Don't apologize. They're mad now. Later they won't be. You're not the a-hole. Move on. To be honest, I could care less if this guy who lives 4 to 5 hours away that I may never see again except once at their wedding and then never again is mad. Oh, I only care about my brother's girlfriend, and only to the extent that she's probably giving my brother an earful over it, and that sucks for him. And her being a future part of the family, having a rift over something so stupid, is unfortunate. I don't know how much this person means to her, and until she expresses that to you directly, instead of going through your brother or anything like that, I think you're fine to continue ignoring that guy. If it matters so much to her, she can reach out to you directly. And if that is something she does, that for one shows she wants to be part of the family, and family talks to one another. Family reaches out, family cares, and family addresses when they have issues. At least they should. Not everybody's that healthy, but if you want to have a healthy relationship in your family, that is something you should consider doing. Pro tip for everybody out there. Talk to your family. Talk to your friends. Talk to those you care about, especially if you have any issues and conflicts. Talking peacefully, expressing yourselves, and coming to agreements is one of the major things that keeps families together and relationships in general. So, if she wants that, she should act as such. Let's find out what else they say. Ever since my mom stopped asking about it, I stopped talking to any of them about it. This is also very out of character for my brother's girlfriend. Not sure why this was a triggering point for her exactly. And if she can't express that part to him or to the brother who can then express it to him, it doesn't matter. At this point, she's not expecting anybody. She just wants him to do a thing. We have to know why. There has to be more context to that. At least for you as a person who's a legal professional, to take on something else without any context, that's not something you need to do. That's why people come to the offices of legal professionals and get their consultations first. They can give the added context for the situation and their situation so that the lawyer and attorney knows he can take on the situation or not, the case or not. That's something that they need in their line of work. So for that to be ignored here is disrespectful, especially if you told people your reasons for not taking the guy on immediately. Not the a-hole. I'm returning constantly experiencing the same exact thing. By the way, don't know if you've tried it, but I've found my malpractice insurance doesn't allow me to talk to you about this unless you come in for a consult, which I have to charge for to be helpful. That's nice. I like that. That's a nice way to talk about that. I'll consider that for future as well. Not the a-hole, not the a-hole, not the a-hole, not even remotely an a-hole. They always ask me if they don't blah 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 blah. All right. Consensus so far? Not the a-hole. I tend to agree with that, and I gave my reasons for why already. That's great. Now he has an update to this, and we'll see what happened. Okay, now let's consider. Am I the a-hole for not giving legal advice at a party to someone I just met? Update. Let's find out what happens. I have some small updates on this post I made a couple of months ago. My brother got engaged to the girlfriend referenced in the post a couple of weeks ago. They had a get-together to celebrate their engagement this past weekend. They only invited immediate family and those they expect to be in the wedding party. My brother had asked me about being his best man last week before the party, but at the dinner they formally gave gifts to everyone in their wedding party along with the officially asking everyone to be in their wedding party. Said brother's fiance's friend's husband was there as well. Jesus Christ, that's the weirdest sentence, but I'll say. Okay, so dude from last post was also there as well. He's not going to be at the wedding party, but his wife apparently will be. I was there before he was, and when he came in, he made no attempt to come over and say hello to me or the group of friends I was talking with. Fine, I already know the guy, so I don't care if he talks to me. At dinner, there were no assigned seats, but my girlfriend and I happened to be seated not super close to him and his wife, but close enough to where we could hear each other's conversations if we weren't involved in our own conversations. At dinner, I was sitting with my girlfriend next to me on the same side they were seated. On my other side was my sister and her husband, and across from me was my other friends and of my brother's fiance I had never met before this night. My girlfriend was not at the previous event, but I, of course, had told her about the issue. Reasonable. Anyway, my girlfriend and I are making small talk with the friends of my brother's fiance across from us, and of course, what we all do for a living came up. I said I was an attorney, and the guy at that point decided to interject into our conversation and say, "But don't ask him any questions right now. He'll just give you his card and tell you to call him during business hours." To my delight and his horror, one of the friends we were talking to responded and said, "Yeah, of course." I'd hardly expect him to give me legal advice at his brother's engagement party. He made an angry face, mumbled something to his wife, who told him to drop it, and then I don't think he said a word again for the rest of the night. Nothing big, just thought some might find this update amusing. And I surely did. Okay, so the man's is still salty. And as salty as he is, the man's is not getting anything from this. So it looks like even his wife is on your side now at the moment. So that's great to hear, the fact that she's got a reasonable bone in her body and a good brain on her head to say, "Come on, man, just drop this thing." I don't know how it turned out for him, and clearly it may not have turned out well for him. He's still real salty about it, so maybe it's still ongoing. Maybe he's still got some issues he needs to come up with. But it doesn't seem like he called you, so that on its own means it's on him now. That's his fault. He didn't call. You offered. You could just call him your business owner, so you don't even necessarily have to have a paid consult. But he could always ask for a free one. And you could always give it to him if he asked for one. It doesn't matter. He didn't do it, so now he's got to deal with the consequences. The update is good for us. I found it amusing. Thank you very much for sharing that. OP, your name was Man Bear Pig Cereal. That's crazy. Thank you, Man Bear Pig Cereal, for your amusing story. And I wish you and all other attorneys such good luck and a wonderful time, and hopefully some peace at every engagement party you go to. Especially if you're on the wedding party, because, oh my god, that's a lot of work. Anyway, not the a-hole. Ultimately, clearly everybody agrees, not the a-hole. and things have worked out for you now in the fact that they're against him and not you. Ah, I think I was going to look at this one too. Oh, yes, we can end on this one. This was an Am I Overreacting piece, and I want to check this out because I thought this picture was great. So, am I overreacting for thinking my husband is a dick? Well, let's find out. So far, we have these two pictures of pancakes, so it seems, and let's find out what those pancakes are about. My husband berated me this morning over 20 minutes because I burnt some pancakes, and that was while I was cooking and feeding our baby at the same time. I acknowledged I burnt them a bit, but he says they are burnt to a crisp and black. He went on and on until I started crying and threw them away. I took these out of the trash to take a photo. Am I crazy, or is he making a big deal out of small mistakes? Would you eat these? All right, let's take a good look at these. Let's take a wonderful look at these. Okay. So we got some brown here. We got some pale here. We got more pale here. A little brown here. A teeny bit of black here. And a lot of black here. A little black here. But lots more brown halfway through there and halfway through there as well. Lots of tan here. Lots of tan here. I think they look good. For sure. This area might be a little crunchy, but that's definitely something you can avoid. If you really cared about it, you can always just knife it out a little bit. He's been ridiculous. Long story short, not overreacting. In fact, you're perfectly within your reasonable rights to react the way you did. He is making something crazy out of a small mistake, and this is a very small mistake. The pancakes I got to cook and eat, you don't want to see that, like crazy. Though I'm lucky my wife enjoys some more burnt things sometimes for the crunch that comes with it. But hey, it's better than what I could do. And if he's complaining about that, then he's gotta have my cooking instead. So let's you and me, OP. Hold on, what's your name? OP. Don't ever call me babe. Call me babe. Just call me. And we'll make some nice pancakes. I'll feed them to him and see if he likes those ones over yours. Because if he can't take that little bit of browning on his pancake, who's gonna see what he's gonna take on mine? Big paws, little paws, big paws. Anyway, not overreacting. Determination. Final answer. Okay, wonderful. Now that we got that done, thank you guys so much. And I think it's time to move on to a nice chill game, if anything else. And if not chill, today was supposed to be an arc day. Like I said, yesterday was supposed to be roguelite night, where we continued playing different roguelite games for like 5 hours, cycling through them. However, I messed up my own schedule, so I'm just gonna have to like redo those and flip them around so that maybe Wednesdays will be roguelite night after some chatting, like now. And Tuesdays will be arc night, so that we can just have that more commonly for me. Because I think in my brain, having 2 days back to back of like chatting and then more chatting and then gaming just makes me think that I missed a day, so I go straight over to arc, which would be in between the two chatter, let's say, episodes of stream. So I'm gonna like adjust that. Anyhow, thanks for having this. Thanks for your TED Talk. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. It's been nice talking about this Reddit stuff with you guys. I'm going to look to add a marker into this chat so I know when we're switching on over to our game. And I think Cookard would be a good choice for this because it's one of our chill things.
Keep on moving on until there's nothing else to move on to when we're gone. Can you hear the hum of the hummingbird? Can you smell the breeze carrying leaves that it lured? Can you cry for your mother and your father too? Can you breathe until there's no air left?